Is manifesting feeling like a constant struggle? You're putting energy out, but it feels like you are hitting a wall. What if the problem isn't your technique, but a single hidden fear blocking everything? The truth is, manifestation shouldn't be a battle. And in this video, we're going to show you why it feels hard and how to make it effortless. If you're new to us, I'm Sorcerer.
And I'm Aurora, and we help high achievers break through the next level of their life through precise energy work. And in this video, you're going to discover the one mental construct that makes everything feel like a struggle when it comes to manifesting, how to reframe losing so you're always winning, and how to enter a state of true limitless attraction. Let's get into it.
Mhm.
The first problem we want to address, or rather the question, is why is fear such a block to manifestation?
In many of our experiences, and including ourselves, fear itself is an emotion that fundamentally we have all experienced. That's an emotion that could be of worry, that could be feelings of unhappiness, and these are due to our own experiences from our day to day life. We've seen people have certain situations, our mums, our dads, our brothers, sisters, cousins, and and even our friends actually, and they may have had experiences where they have failed, they may fail, they may have lost, but the experience of it is that we see this, and we may not know this at that time, or you may not know this at that time, but we all download this information. And that's how the fear comes along, especially when we experience it through our own goals. Now, I want to say this something that me and Aurora have learned, but we actually utilize this energy of fear as a form of a compliment. Because if you're in that state of fear itself, that's an old version of you saying, I'm still here. I'm still trying to hold you, grab you while you're trying to go forwards. And you're just like, no, I'm gonna go through this, and it may appear hard at the time, but actually it's an invitation for you to ascend. When you change the construct of how you view this, it really helps you accelerate this particular transformative time where the problem doesn't become the problem no more. It's a solution towards how you deal with it from a day to day life, from your small goals, from your high goals, just in general. Fear itself is merely an illusion and a kind compliment that you are heading towards a direction in which you want to go forth, and you can use it as a form of empowerment, you can use it as a form of experience, but ultimately it is designed for you to make this into your highest timeline for a highest path. You want to add to that?
Yeah, you've hit the nail right on the head. And I think the reason why we tend to initially let fear be such a big block is because we don't really have, let me rephrase that. We aren't really taught at a young age how to handle things like failure. Because when we're feeling fear, 9 times out of 10, it's in relation to failure in some way, right? What if I'm not good enough, which means what if I fail? What if, something goes wrong, which means what if I fail? And so changing your relationship with the concept of failure, I think, is where we start. Because when we think about it, does failure really exist
Mm,
unless you just stop?
because this is the thing, right? We've learned, and I think we can use this particular situation. So we decided ourselves to not be a part of the quote unquote 9 to 5 working lifestyle that we had previously. And that took a lot of internalization from myself. I take accountability, right? But I saw this as an opportunity for me to go through this resistance and really say, no, you know what? I'm taking ownership on this, because To understand your growth is understanding that you're never losing, you're always growing, right? Now it means that there may be hiccups along the lines, but at the end of the day, the illusion of it is this giant wall that isn't there. It's just basically the mist of uncertainty that you have to go through, and trust that you will essentially go forth and reach your goals, because if you have this energy of winning, therefore how can you ever lose, right?
Yeah, and I want to bring up that point of something else we practice as well, which I think you consider it the law of transaction, right? When it comes to losing and winning, um, let's reframe the term of losing.
Mm.
When you get to a certain point, you realize that there's no such thing as losing, right? Because everything is actually going in your favor, even when it appears to be a loss. But a
Mm.
loss is really just giving,
Mm-hmm.
right? Did you
Mm-hmm.
want to go ahead and explain that a bit more?
Yeah, so a lot for me, I have this sentence that I wrote down. I'm looking at it right now, right? And I said to myself, and I wrote this, I said, failure isn't a full stop. It's merely a comma before success. And if you see this as a form that you'll never lose and that you'll win, these are just stepping stones towards you achieving your high results, right? So if you see this as not being the problem but being part of the solution, this is just a way, a guide to be like, maybe I'm not quite there yet, but I'll get there for sure. It's understanding that the journey itself, you need to go through a period of difficulty, because when you go through these certain periods, it really identifies who you truly are. And when you reach a certain part of yourself of success, when a lot of people reach a certain success, they have to go through this as a see this as a compliment, as if it's your initiation toward your greatness.
So, what you're saying is, in order to, I guess, untrain your mind to see failure as bad or that you're losing anything, it's the repetition of reminding yourself that, wait a minute, I'm not losing, I'm not failing. This is an active exchange.
Yes, because if you give yourself, and this is important when you go through this mist of transformation, if you give yourself the time to actually say, okay, there is no fear. There are only ways in me to not um for me to not there's a word for it. There is no fear, and there is no way of me losing if I must learn. But in order for myself, I need to have this transaction of understanding that I need to look within in order for myself to really see the world for what it is. Once I give myself that grace, once I give myself that lesson, once I give myself the power of understanding that I finally found my answer. That is the truest transaction to you and towards what you want to win.
Now, is it possible to have no fear when it comes to manifesting? And how does that intertwine with the failure and not seeing things as losses?
I think when it comes to like when you have no fear, and there's only a quite small percentage of people that have mastered this area of no fear, you're more likely to reach your certain goals. But in essence, when they hit a certain quote unquote let's say a hurdle, they know how to bounce back from that hurdle or a resistance. Fear itself, those who have really reached that success, um, understand that having no fear, excuse me, how can there be any lessons? These are a changing of you basically upgrading and realigning towards where you got to be. So it's basically changing certain thought patterns to create better ones for yourself.
I want to get more into the practical things to actually implement everything that was said, because yes, it's nice to know that, oh, when I feel fear, it's an illusion, right? But sometimes knowing that may not change the actual experience of being able to change that.
Should we talk about how we would work through it?
Yeah, I
Because
think
I
that's
feel
a good
like
idea.
for us is to give a little slice of the cake towards how we deal with things and how we've helped others deal with certain situations. Because when you're seeing the energy of when you're feeling how, you're basically saying that there is another alternative way into going through a certain situation. Because if you don't ask how, that means you're accepting where you are, right?
Yes.
Yes. So the way I see it is if you believe that there are limiting beliefs in the way you think, that means you already created an obstacle. All right. My advice towards you is to remove these limits. Remove these limits. Remove that you may have certain things such as experiences in your past. Understand that the current thing that you must do at this moment in time is to understand that there are infinite possibilities as long as you're in this 3D. You can create things that you can, many people will say you're delusional, but it's only delulu until it's solulu. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And this is about understanding that you have the power and it all starts with your mind. And understand that as you are constantly trying to change, you have to understand that these daily practices, such as your affirmations, your manifestations, things that you can do daily, which are you can write into your journaling, you can say your certain beliefs, you can live it, know it, breathe it, say it, and know that it's in your frequency and that you are about to attract it. It's not if, but when. Then it becomes the energy of you removing any ceilings that you have created in the past and actually shattering it. These are things that I do to sell as a way of self-imposing why I'm embracing this energy of achieving all my goals. Now, I'm going to utilize my experience. 2 years ago, I was doing my 9 to 5. I did not believe in myself. I had to go through hardships. And then I decided to look myself in the mirror and say to myself that these are just illusions of myself imposing that I am not good enough. And then when I realized that the things that I have said were only because I had fear, my transaction at that time was to not listen to that noise and not to fuel it. I changed it by allowing the voice inside of me and say, you're more than good enough. That nothing is beneath me, and that the dream and my goal only starts now. And if you work through it, even through your doubts at that time, I guarantee you will see success. Now, I've seen success. We've seen success. But that's because we realize that there are no limits and that everything is for our highest pathway. And these daily practices, we actually still say this till this day. Till this day. Before we even record, before I stream, before I even read, before all of these things, before we do our rituals, me and Aurora say our daily affirmations of what we truly are and what we truly know and what is the feeling in the air. So if you're watching this, that shows you that you are in that frequency itself.
I'd also like to add to what he just said. Saucer did a great job of explaining the mindset and the mental arena when it comes to changing your identity from one of, oh, failure is bad, to actually there is no failure, there is no loss. Is from a physical standpoint, it's about taking micro actions or big, however, whatever leap of faith you can take, you take those leaps of faith repetitively, and you teach yourself, oh, I'm still here. Everything is still okay. Or even if you do something and it turns out to lead you somewhere that's inconvenient, um, realizing that every time that that has ever happened in your life, you've always been able to come around it and still be okay. Except this time, you're not doing it from a survival standpoint. You're doing it from the standpoint of saying, you know what? I'm going to take a leap of faith on myself and trust that there are no failures. Let me put some embodied action behind that. And as you do that, your nervous system, which if you stick around, I am so big about the nervous system, right? You're actually teaching yourself safety through this embodied action. So, what does it feel like, sorcerer? From, let's say you brought up the example of how you left security, right? And in that time, you were feeling a bit of fear, right? Looking back at it, what is the felt sense now in terms of how it feels to know that there's no failure?
It's crazy because it's literally it's been night and day, if I'm being completely honest with you, because I don't even recognize the person that I was. I feel like that was me going through a series of my own changes, because I wouldn't, knowing what I know right now and being on the other side, I've realized that I wouldn't have made certain decisions based on what I know now. Like, honestly, and that's just the reality of it. But from I'll tell you from what I remember. But I think for me, and this is truly it. There isn't anything that's like a physical block that tells you that you can't do it. Everything that I did, from stepping outside of that door to saying that I'm going to quit this role, I'm going to quit this. The only thing that was stopping that movement was myself and the power that I've given to that illusion. Now, if you're experiencing that, I guarantee you the answer that you'll need to know is go through that resistance. Honestly, and it's going to be a tussle. But if you really, and this is what I did, relinquish that worry and that control of your old self, the new self will just embrace it as, this is what I've got to do. Like, it completely simplifies everything. And that simplicity itself is you accepting the change, you accepting that there are no resistance, you accepting that there isn't a physical looking illusion that's going to stop you from going forwards, because you're choosing really to go to the next room. It's like the example that I've used before. Everyone has gone to school, and you have basically gone to a different room. You've got a new teacher, there may be some new classes, as in subjects, new topics, even some new students, classmates, right? You will feel a bit uneasy, but as you will go, you will grow. And that itself is something that people might see as an obstacle. See as an initiation. See as an initiation of you 10x in your life, getting better. Just in its purity. Just you having the power of choice.
Yes, indeed. I think that wraps it up for this episode. If you found this enjoyable, I actually encourage you to click on the link below where you'll find the next video is about anxiety and how to navigate that and how it's actually not a block in your life. And if you enjoyed the video, feel free to like and subscribe.
Take care.